Hi, this is Susan Larkin from Sober and Lit podcast. I joined Adam's group coaching program because I needed help with audience growth strategies. With Adam's help, I've been able to make some easy changes to optimize SEO, and we've already seen an increase in downloads. The strategies Adam provides are simple and actionable. The coaching calls are packed with value, and the community here is so generous. I've already learned from, connected with, and collaborated with other podcasters.
What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School. It's the show where I teach podcasters simple strategies to help you make more money, get more clients, and build a profitable online business. Today, we're talking about the podcast SEO strategies that helped me, your buddy Adam, cross 1 million plus downloads as a podcaster. Every year, I do kind of a podcast growth manifesto, SEO, organic discovery episode, and this is that episode. I know that I talk a lot about this, kind of bits and pieces of this strategy when I do my podcast growth audit episodes, and you hear a little bit of that. This is kind of the all-in-one buffet of podcast SEO and organic discovery. And every year with this core topic, I have some shifting viewpoints and some different things that I'm experimenting with. So I feel like this is a really important episode to put out and reference for a calendar year. So the big problem that we're going to try to fix is that, like, when I'm out there on social media platforms like Threads or talking to you all in my free workshops, my guess is that less than 5% of active podcasters are correctly leveraging SEO, organic discovery, and keywords within your podcast growth strategy. That's why I am so preachy about this. This is why I feel like I need to do an episode at least once a year where I really break down the whole thing, doing a masterclass episode like this. So buckle in. We're going to go through a lot. All right. And by the end of this, if you feel like I could use Adam's help, then hit the link in the show notes. My podcast profit potential discovery call calendar is open. This is my wheelhouse. This is my jam. I just add that little 3%, 5% Adam magic dust. We sprinkle it on there a little bit, those herbs and spices, and people are out there really seeing a dramatic impact with their audience building and their podcast growth. So that link will be in the show notes. All right. The first thing we have to do is kind of define what podcast SEO / organic discovery is. I really don't like using the term SEO because I feel like it confuses people. A lot of you think, oh, it's like web SEO or even YouTube SEO. And like getting really, really specific, when we talk about audio podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, SEO, I like the word organic discovery to kind of keep it less confusing. But what we're talking about is what's happening in that search bar. And it is so different. Your YouTube strategy will not work for audio podcasts. Your website strategy, it's going to be different. Your Google strategy, it's different. All right. So just a quick example. I mean, a lot of people really line up their SEO on YouTube for questions because people will, like, I bought an Instant Pot the other day and I went straight to YouTube. I'm like, how do I make Instant Pot cauliflower? And that's the question I put in there, and I got my answers. I'm watching all these Instant Pot videos of these people making cauliflower, steamed cauliflower. It's delicious, by the way. Great little vegetable. Quick 3 minutes, good to go. But people put questions into the YouTube search bar. People do not put questions into Apple Podcasts or Spotify. They are not putting, how do I start a podcast, into Apple and Spotify. They will put something like podcasting tips, podcasting strategies. All right. So it's different. And I just want to just quickly define that. Like, okay, whatever you think you know about SEO, I see a lot of people on Threads, a lot of like SEO experts, and they truly are like traditional SEO experts, and they're trying to apply that to podcasts, and it is not the same. All right. So we have to hit the refresh button on what we think we know. And maybe if you don't want to use the term SEO, then let's use the term organic discovery and think about things a little bit differently. We're going to focus on 3 areas that are critically important when it comes to organic discovery of your audio podcast. We're going to talk about the name of your show, which carries the most power. We're going to talk about your podcast host description, the about this podcast inside of your podcast host. That has the second most power. And we're going to talk about your individual podcast episode titles. Now, when I cover this topic, the absolute most frequent question I get from you all is, Adam, where do I go to figure out my keywords? And it's getting easier, but it's still not easy. And people, again, are going about this the wrong way because I think we're thinking about traditional SEO, website SEO, Google, YouTube SEO a little bit too much. So let me give you 3 options. And then I'm going to do something that I've never done before. Sit tight. So the first option, the best option in my opinion, is ask your audience. Do not ask your friends. Do not ask people that don't listen to your show. Do not ask your relatives or your spouse. They will give you bad advice. Point blank. Don't do it. All right? Ask your audience verbally on your show. Give them a call to action. If you are on social media, if you have clients, or this is my favorite, when somebody that you know listens to your show reaches out and asks a question about something you discussed on social media or on the show or on your newsletter, if they reach out with a question, answer their question, and then go, hey, by the way, I'm always curious, how did you find me and what were you looking for? Do you remember if they say, oh, I found you on Spotify? I go, do you remember what you searched? Do you remember what words you were putting in, what you were looking for? This is how we figured out exactly. This is why I figured out that the phrase podcasting tips was like the thing that I needed to show up for with my organic discovery strategy, specifically the word podcasting. And you think about it, it's like little nuances make a big difference. Think about how many shows have the word podcast in it. So many. Like so many podcasts are the blah, blah, blah podcast. So that is not going to serve me when I'm talking about podcasting. So being really specific, my show is called Podcasting Business School, not Podcast Business School, because the word podcast is just going to get you washed away in the mix of everybody else that has that word in the name of their show. Podcasting is specific and is specifically what people are searching in the search bar: podcasting tips, podcasting strategies. So asking our audience, that's how I figured that out. Next strategy: use words that are associated with the podcasting category you're listed within. So if you are in the wellness category, if your show is like some sort of weight loss show or fitness show, think about words that are associated with that. So health, wellness, nutrition, fitness, weight loss, intermittent fasting, workout, blah, blah, blah. What words make sense? Now I know, here's what you're thinking. Adam, those are boring words. But these are the boring words that got me past 1 million downloads. So if you want to stay at 4 downloads an episode, and 3 of them are you subscribed on an iPad and another phone and your kid's phone, then that's fine. If you want to grow, you got to listen up. You got to get past, like when I'm talking about keyword strategies, I tell my clients, we're going to get really specific and kind of vanilla, but very strategic with our keyword strategy. All the creativity that you got bottled up, we're going to release that when you hit the record button, like what I'm doing right here. This is where I can let all my creativity out. But having an overly creative podcast name or thinking you need to show up for a word like hustleliciousness, which is it's not a keyword, by the way. Made up words, not keywords. Like having that in your mind is going to just make your growth 1,000 times harder. So if that's the path that you choose to take, if you want to hike up a mountain backwards with a 1,000-pound backpack on, that's fine. That's your choice. But I'm like, hey, how about we take the 1,000-pound backpack off and run downhill? That's what keywords will do for you. That's what they did for me. All right, so that's the second idea of how to find your keywords. Just think about what category you're listed in and words associated with that category. Thirdly, there's some new tools popping up. Ausha, A-U-S-H-A, is a French podcasting company that had a pretty cool podcast keyword search tool that they let me test out. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape, or form. You can look them up, A-U-S-H-A. They had, I think they called it the PSO, Podcast Search Optimizer, or something like that. Don't quote me on that. And I know they listen to the show, so shout out to the Ausha people. They're very friendly. They're doing a lot of work, and I challenge them At first, they were going to bake it into their platform and you had to host with them to be able to use this. I was like, listen, podcasters are going to they're going to want this. Like, this is a valuable tool. I bet if you put it out there independently, it will do much better. It might be a gateway into your main hosting platform. And I think that's what they did. So check them out. And there's some other ones. We got to be careful with ChatGPT. We got to be careful with AI because they still see SEO as like website SEO, Google SEO, this podcast specific SEO. That's why I don't like using SEO a lot, because it gets lumped into the other stuff that doesn't work as far as organic discovery on Apple and Spotify specifically. Now, the thing I've never done before, this is usually reserved for my podcast growth coach certification or my clients, but I've just got 40 keywords that I've used with clients that have worked really good. I'm just going to read them for you. So if any of these apply to you, these are the types of words that, again, if these don't apply to you, please don't use these words. Don't try to use all these words. I know some of you be like, and now my 40 keyword name is, it's a podcast about everything. So I included them all. Don't do that. Here are 40 keywords that my clients have used, and they have helped them double, triple, 5x, 10x their downloads. All right, I'm just going to read them out. Health, wellness, nutrition, fitness, weight loss, intermittent fasting, workout, personal growth, self-improvement, mindfulness, mental health, meditation, motivation, business, entrepreneurship, marketing, online marketing, digital marketing, online business, side hustle, sales, content creator, social media marketing, solopreneur, sports, athlete, specific sports like basketball, football, baseball, etc., specific sports leagues like NFL, NCAA, NBA, etc., if that's what the show's about, a specific age group, brackets like millennials, baby boomers, midlife, etc., specific religions or religious groups like Christian, Jewish, Muslim, etc., medical, professional descriptions like dentists, physical therapists, chiropractors, and then a few more individual words here: money, finance, financial, investing, wealth, crypto, Bitcoin, and real estate. So those are 40 plus examples of words. Notice, no made up words, no ultra creative terms. The word hustle is not on there. All right. You got to think about, like, even the word like love. People won't search love. They'll search relationships. They'll search dating. They'll search parenting. You got to think about we come up with these words and like, oh, that's a keyword I want to show up for. But it's like, usually it's a descriptor of the actual keyword. All right. Now, let's dive in a little bit here. The most important thing we have to cover is the name of the show. This is where, again, 95% of podcasters are still screwing this up. Now, let me also say, I know a lot of you listen to my show and you go out and you think that you like did this. And then I see you, I just listened to Adam's show and I rebranded and I just relaunched, and I look at the name and it still didn't follow the formula. All right. So, shameless plug, this is a huge advantage that my clients have. Like, I see most of my clients do this. Like, oh, how about this? I'm like, nope, still not there. You still don't understand quite what a keyword is. And I fix it. All right. So shameless plug. All right. We're looking for 3 things within my perfect podcast naming formula. The first step is I want the first word of the name of your show to be a keyword. Ideally, we're going to get another keyword in there somewhere else, but at least the first word. The first word has the most SEO organic discovery power. So quick fix. Let's say my show was called The Podcasting Business School. If the word "the" is the listed first word, we got to just delete it. So you can still verbally call it The Podcasting Business School, but listed name is podcasting, first word. That's huge for me. Do not diminish the SEO power of a great keyword by moving it off that first word. All right, find a way to make the first word a keyword on the name of your show. So I did a workshop at the end of January. I was working with somebody, and he goes, "So you're telling me if I just get the out of there, I'm going to like double my downloads?" I go, "Yeah, it's going to help a ton." And he was so excited about it. So it can be that simple. I do this all the time. If If the is right in front of a keyword, just delete the from the front of your name and you will see better results. I know it sounds dumb, but it will work. So that's the first step in the perfect podcast naming formula. First word of the name of your show is an actual keyword. Number 2, when I read the name, I can tell what the show is about. Number 3, when I read the name, I know who the show is for. And ideally, that's where our second keyword comes in. I call it a keyword plus describing term. It's calling to the ideal listener using a word that they use and that they are probably searching that describes themselves. Let me give you some examples. Number 1, digital marketing tips for dentists. All right, first word keyword, digital marketing. That's a key phrase. Tips for dentists. The dentist is the identifying term plus another keyword. Again, fitness strategies for real estate professionals. We know what it's about. We know who it's for. It's got 2 keywords, fitness and real estate. Third one, solopreneurship tips for Christian women. Solopreneurship, first word keyword, Christian women, identifying term plus keyword. All right, these are boring names, but these will crank downloads. These will attract the ideal fit audience that are searching these words so that you can actually get the right people in front of your content. All right, before we exit this portion of our topic of discussion of the name of the show, I want to make a point. Most of you will have to rebrand at some point. I did it. I've done it with any show that I've launched. I've rebranded it at some point, usually within the first 100 episodes. All right. And it is normal and it is smart. Rebranding is not failure. Rebranding is smart and normal and is usually an excellent move. Now, let's say you've listened to like 7 episodes of my show and you've heard me kind of talk about this, like, oh, I need to rebrand, and you thought you did it right and you just kind of did it and you just rebranded, but you're still not following the formula. You had an aha moment as you've listened to this and you're like, here's the deal. Rebrand again. But I just rebranded, Adam. I just rebranded 3 episodes ago. Is it okay to rebrand again? If you want to grow your show, the answer is yes. There is never a wrong time to implement this formula and rebrand it. I don't care if you're in the middle of a season, you're 4 episodes into an 8-episode season, freaking rebrand it. Why would you wait to release the Kraken of podcast growth? Why? All right. And guess what? Your 17 people that are listening to your show, they're not going to mind, because this is going to get you to where you want to be as a podcaster. This is where it's going to get you to what you deserve as an audience. The right people will start finding you. Now, other common excuses. But Adam, the name of my show and the name of branding, like I've got a book with the same name. I've got a product with the same name. My IG handle is the same name. My website is the same name. And I do not care. All right. I'm sure your book name, if you have a book coach, they'll tell you to optimize the name of the book to be optimized for a book. Your website person will do the SEO stuff to make sure that the website URL is optimized to be a website URL. Why would you try to make all that the same in the name of branding? All right. That will not work. I see so many people. My IG handle is this. My podcast name is this. My website is this. My book is this. That is the name of the show. Like, optimize each component of your business strategy for that individual component. All right. I know I'm getting tough lovey on you here, but this is like, I'm sick of seeing podcasters quit because they're missing out on the most powerful lever they can pull. And that is the name of your show and leveraging organic discovery. I've got 1.2, approaching 1.3 million downloads as a podcaster, and this is 99% of the deal for me. All right. I'm not out there spending thousands of dollars a month on ads. I'm not guesting on 1 million shows a month. This is the strategy. I'm only on one social media platform. I work 3 days a week. This is the strategy. Do not overlook this strategy. Bam. All right. Podcast host description. So again, this is like if you host your show in Libsyn or Buzzsprout or wherever, there's usually a little area of your podcast host where you can update the logo of the show, and you can update the name of the show and the description of the show. This is the About This podcast. I'm not talking about show notes for individual episodes. I'm talking about the description of the overall show inside of your host. This has the second most organic discovery and SEO power. So when I work with clients, we look at this in two parts. Part one, part two. Part one, I want you to just write out who you are and what this show is about and who it's for. Just write a paragraph. Then, once you're done, go back and look at your keyword list and put all the keywords in there. All right? Just find a spot for all those keywords. I want them all in there. Doesn't matter the order or anything like that. All right? So that's part one. Then we're going to create a second part to your host description and you can look at my show. Just click on the About This Show wherever you're listening, and you can kind of use that as a template. I have a line that says, this show is for you if you find yourself asking questions such as, okay, how do we figure out these questions? We all know at least one question that our audience probably typically has. For me, it would be like, how to grow a podcast. So I'll go to Google and I'll type in, how do I grow a podcast? And Google will answer that, but Google will also say, hey, people also ask these other questions. These other questions, copy and paste, list them all in this section of your podcast host description. I've never used ChatGPT or any of that, but I know that I've got clients, obviously, that do. And I have them go to ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT, what, based off of this question, how do I grow my podcast? What similar questions are podcasters asking? Give me 10 questions or whatever. And you use ChatGPT, copy and paste, put all of the questions in there. So you're going to have a list of, at least 5, but I usually challenge my clients like 10, 15, 20 questions, because now we're showing up for those questions in Google search and with ChatGPT search. Pro tip, these are also great for podcast episode titles. We'll get to that in a second. But if you can have it in question format, or in that exact language that people are searching in the bots like ChatGPT and or Google, that's going to help you show up for those specific questions. Makes sense, right? So part one, description of you, the show, who it's for, what it's about, all the keywords, and then transition into the list of questions. Here's where you will get into trouble. Not trouble. Here's where you're limited if you don't have a paid podcast host. So if you're doing a free podcast host, which I do not recommend, like, at some point, you got to decide whether you got a business or a hobby, y'all. And you just got to invest like $15 a month in a paid host. This is not a big deal. So the paid hosts give you a lot more characters in the host description. There's no, like Spotify, if you host for free in Spotify, the characters are severely limited. You're going to maybe be able to get a few questions in there, and you're limiting your organic discovery potential because of that. All right. So got to weigh it out and go, hey, okay, time to invest $15 a month and get Buzzsprout or Libsyn or wherever. And you're going to get way more room to place these questions and get more organic discovery power. All right. The third area where we can leverage keywords is within podcast episode titles, individual episodes. There's some fun stuff that we can do here that you'll see an immediate difference on with your downloads. You can make an immediate impact. So we really, when I titled like this episode, I have to make sure that I've got a highly searched keyword in there. And I've got to make sure that by reading the name of this episode, it's going to make people like you want to listen to it. You're scrolling through and you're like, oh, wow, this topic sounds interesting. So highly searched keyword and an interesting clickable name. Those are the two parts. All right. If you are using AI, you got to go back and check it, because a lot of times AI isn't really well versed in podcast SEO, podcast organic discovery, especially audio podcast organic discovery. So make sure one of those hot button keywords, that's why I use podcasting tips all the time. This is one of the reasons I show up so high in Spotify and Apple, because I'm using the phrase podcasting strategies, podcasting tips so often in the titles of my individual episodes. All right, now, good news. And this is something I want you to look through, or if you've got a VA or an assistant, or you've trained your 10-year-old daughter, like myself, how to do a few things with your show. Shout out to Hannah, 10-year-old daughter. You can have them go back and help you update episode titles. All right, so you can go through, let's say you've got 47 episodes. I would just scan through them and go, is there a keyword in the name, in the title of this episode? If not, what did I talk about? What is the keyword associated with what I talked about? Put that in the name, update it, hit save, and guess what? It doesn't negatively impact anything. It's not going to make your episodes get out of order or anything like that. So scan through all your previous episodes, find a keyword. If there's nothing there, put one in there, hit save, update it, and now those episodes have a much better chance of showing up for that keyword. And you will see downloads start to happen from anything that you update. I challenge you, go back 40 episodes ago, find a show without a keyword in the name, update it, and just make a little note. Here's how many downloads that episode had before I changed that, and let's see what happens. Report back when you get some cool results. All right. Now, those are 3 areas that we can pull that SEO lever, and it makes a difference. Name of podcast, podcast host description, and podcast individual episode titles. There is one area that I see so many podcasters stressing out about, freaking out about, trying to optimize, and it has 0 impact on SEO. Confirmed 0. All right? Not just me making that up. And that is your show notes. Individual episode show notes have 0 organic discovery SEO as an audio podcast. So for me, I'm an audio-only podcaster. This is going out to all the audio players, Apple, Spotify, Overcast, wherever. All right? So as an audio podcaster, the episode notes that you see for this episode, there is no SEO power, no organic discovery or search bar power with that. Now, if you're copying and pasting your show notes into YouTube, yeah, there's going to be some SEO power. Or if you're transforming it into a blog, yeah, we need to get keywords in there. But if you're I am an online business content entrepreneur minimalist over here, I don't do any of that stuff. I don't do YouTube. I don't do blog stuff. And my strategy, I don't stress over the show notes. You can look how simple my show notes are. I don't worry about getting keywords in there. All right. So that's just something else to consider. Okay. So that wraps it up. Again, even if you just rebranded, even if you've implemented some of these things and you feel like, oh, I just did this or whatever, really go through. This is an episode that you may want to re-listen to. It's that important because 95% of podcasters don't make it to episode 100. I think a big part of that is you aren't seeing growth. You aren't getting the ROI of seeing your audience grow, increasing audience engagement. If you're a service provider like me and we're trying to get clients from our show, if you're not seeing those things happen, why would you keep going? And this is a huge part of it. All right. This organic discovery is what saved me as a podcaster. Like I said, this is why I have 1.2 million downloads, is because of the things that I talked about here today. So do not overlook these in the name of having a cute and creative name. If your show is called Livin', Lifin', and Lovin', you ain't growing. You know what I mean? So I hope this one inspired you. I hope that it put into action. If you need some help with that, check out the link in the episode notes. I've got a few different ways that I could help you out. Normally, I'm the single CTA guy. I preach that. But today, I'm going to break code just a little bit. I've got kind of a getting started program, my Podcast Growth Bootcamp. You get 4 weeks of pop-in coaching with me, my full Podcast Growth Bootcamp online protocol. We get to work together for 4 weeks. I'll put that link. It's a great starting point. A lot of people start there. Or if you just want to jump in my group coaching program, you get access to everything, plus more access to me and the group coaching every other week. So I'll put both of those in there in the show notes, along with my podcast Profit Potential Discovery Call. That's a great place to start. If you're like, I don't know where to start, let's just talk to Adam about it. See which plan fits your strategy, your goals, and your budget. I'll put that in there as well. So I'm going to put three links. Oh my God, 3 links. Don't shame me. Don't ring the call to action bell of shame at me too bad here. But this is one of those benchmark episodes. I know I've thrown a lot at you, and this is really, really important. So I hope this was inspiring. Hope this is helpful. And with that, I'm going to send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. I will see you on the next episode.
If you need a little bit of help with your podcast launch, growth, or monetization strategy, head on over to my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school, and get signed up for a free podcast profit potential discovery call. During this free 20-minute discovery call session, I'm going to analyze your podcasting brand and tell you where I think you're missing on an opportunity for profits. Next, I'm going to tell you exactly what I suggest that you do as your next step. If I've got an offer that would help you accelerate the process, we can discuss working together as well. So head on over to my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school, and click on the Discovery Call button to schedule your free Podcast Profit Potential Discovery Call.